I will do that. Yes, you should be able to take control, and then you can flick through your slides, because I don't want to be responsible for that. So yeah,
okay.
There we are. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, we can.
Fab. It's recording now as well.
So shall I give it a try then and take control and see if it works?
Yeah.
As I'm up first, yeah. So hang on, let me just see if that works. I assume you can all still see it.
Yes.
Yeah? Yep.
Okay, great. So the only challenge when you take control is it becomes so small on the screen you can't actually see it. But hopefully the first slide is up there, which is our agenda for today. I'm going to look for nods if you can. And because you're also very small on my screen, Sarah, you're the only person I can see in big. So I'm going to use you as an indicator, if that's okay, on how this is going. But please do shout or pop in.
You've given me a star roll now, so I'm going to use it.
Pop in the sidebar, please, if you can. If you want to come in, if you want to say anything, because I can't see hands going up at the moment. Right. Okay. So shall I officially welcome everybody to our 2021 AGM? This is my last official day as your chair and vice president of our HPMA Wales branch. And so I'm going to do this properly for a change instead of completely winging it, which would be the normal Vaughan style. And just take my opportunity this morning to tell you what a privilege and what a joy it has actually been being the chair and the vice president. And I know that AGMs are traditionally a little bit bland and boring, but they are a really important day in our calendar because it is our opportunity to sit down together and reflect on and share all of our successes and reflect on what a year it's been, share our successes, share the things that we are most proud of, and there is a lot to be proud of, I think, as a committee. And then also our opportunity to take a look ahead at the next 12 months. Now, whilst we'd hoped that Nikki and or Dean would have been able to join us today to give us sort of the national perspective, I know that we're well placed, as I said earlier, to get that from Sarah and Andrew. Gareth. Why did I call you Andrew? Sarah and Gareth. I have no idea. I'm losing my mind. So from Sarah and Gareth, who are both well plugged in now, and Gareth will be going to the national discussions. And I think, Gareth, you've got all those diary markers and invites now from now on, haven't you? To go. So hopefully, if we need to, we can pick up some of the national perspective through your good offices there. And it's been such a strange 2 years. I know an AGM usually looks back over 1 year, but I just thought I'd take the opportunity to look back over the 2 years that I've been chair, if that's okay. And just sort of, I was thinking about as I prepare to hand over to Gareth, what a weird 2 years it's been, and a 2 year period of real contrast. And I think some of us may have suffered the loss of family members through this period, or loss of friends, or loss of colleagues working closely with them. Most, if not all of us, have had to adapt, haven't we, to very different ways of working. We've had to homeschool to varying degrees of success, and I know I've shared my pains and trials and tribulations with you. Some of us have found a new focus on well-being, as I think we've all tried to find a balance and between work and home life, as those boundaries have become more and more blurred as we work from home. And we've all learned new skills, haven't we, with the virtual world, and we've all become experts, haven't we, in Office 365 and in Teams and in Zoom and Mentimeter and everything else that is now sort of become the norm in our working days. And so I think, you know, I should move the slides on, shouldn't I? I forgot I had control of them, so there's a good start, isn't it? I think it's really sort of what this pandemic has done, and I think we've acknowledged this a number of times, is really shine a light, isn't it, on what our people and our OD teams and functions are doing and can do, and just how business critical a role we play in all of that. And I think, and I'm quite proud that actually over the last year or two, as a branch and as a national HPMA, and with Nikki and Dean as well being very strong in this, you know, we have had a presence and we have had a visibility and we have had a voice on behalf of our profession, which is what we're here to do. And we've offered some commentary, haven't we? And we've offered some insight into key developments. And I know that Nikki and Dean, on behalf of the National, have responded with calls to value and recognise just what our, you know, the valuable contribution that our people profession make. And our our reflection and recognition event that's coming up in the next couple of weeks is our opportunity locally in Wales here to do that. And I think that will be a really memorable event. So no pressure, Natalie and Kay and Sarah. But I really do think that's going to be a cracker of an event for us as a committee and as a branch. So you've all been a delight to spend time with. I have had fun. Each and every one of you makes such an important contribution to the team, the sense of team. And I do genuinely think we're not just a committee, it feels very much like we have a sense of team. And you're passionate and you're full of ideas and you're full of enthusiasm. And having a branch committee like that has made my job really very easy in the chair. So I thank you for that. And I know you're going to do the same for Gareth now as he takes over, and you'll continue to keep those ideas running. And we've grown and grown and grown in size, haven't we? And today's a really good example of just how many people across our profession in Wales are interested, want to engage. And it's fabulous to see our link officers doing the same now and coming into committee meetings and making a contribution and being part of our discussions. That was just, I just felt we needed to acknowledge the Christmas party, the virtual Christmas party, which I think was a great success, everyone. I'm not sure if you all agree, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and so did Reese. And so I won't take too much time because I don't want to steal the thunder of all of our branch officers now as they give their updates, but I do think that you know, one of my key reflections looking back over the last 2 years is just how our events have gone from strength to strength and how we've brought forward speakers who are relevant, speakers who are insightful, speakers who are challenging, speakers who are inspiring, and they're inspiring not just us, but they're inspiring people across the system. People are coming forward. If I think about our recent diversity event that Danny and Sean had hosted for us, there were some fantastic ideas coming forward there, people wanting to see more, to get involved, to get engaged in discussions around race and inclusion and diversity. And that's exactly what we're here to do, is to encourage people to take a proactive role in our profession and in shaping the future and in shaping our organisations. And so I'll let Danny and Shauna talk a bit more about that and reflect on that and the other events that we've hosted. But I think I should say a very, very big thank you to all of you who have organised and come up with and run events for us over the past 2 years, and to those of you who are going to do it for us this year now as well. And also to say thank you to our sponsors. I know none of them are here today, but we have had some really good sponsorship. And also to HEIW for the use of platforms in this new virtual world, and to Shared Services team, who I think, you know, with if I think about actually Gareth, the number of Shared Services people who contribute actively to this committee and support us, you know, it's a massive contribution, and we should be grateful for that too. So I won't say much more than that. It is a big day for us today. As we've noted on the WhatsApp group earlier, we have got a lot of change coming. I do want to just very quickly run through some committee news then for us. I think we should start with the positives and say we've welcomed new committee members. As I say, we've grown from strength to strength. So we've welcomed Mitch who's doing a fantastic job picking up the governance role from Jackie. So thank you, Mitch. We've welcomed Vicky, we've welcomed Natalie, we've welcomed Sarah. If I have missed anybody out, I apologise, and please just pop that in the bar. Zoe and I were trying to brainstorm late last night, yesterday evening, about who's joined us and who's moved on. We've had new link officers, so we've got Ruth, we've got Bryony, we've got Emily, Lucy, Laura, Sarah and Bethan. And, you know, from a WAST perspective, I think, because Joe isn't actually in work at the moment, we're probably going to see Bronwyn joining us for the next meetings as the link officer for WAST. And we've had some new arrivals, haven't we? So we've had some lovely news where we've had Alison, Nicola, Lauren, Vicky, who've either had their babies or have impending babies. So we are starting our HPMA succession planning very early. And we need to make sure they all have, you know, boys or girls, pink stuff to wear going forward, because we know that the men can rock the pink just as well as the women. Mr. Hardacre. We've said a sad goodbye to Phil in this past year, but we've wished him well as he's gone to his new role in the National Museum, and also to Sue Thomas. And we'll be saying goodbye, sadly, as well to Jackie today, which is a big wrench for us, I think, because Jackie has been an absolute stalwart of this committee for many, many years now. She has given huge amounts of her time and her effort and her knowledge to us. And we are going to sorely miss that, Jackie. But as Danny said this morning, we very much hope you're going to continue. We're going to continue to see you in our branch events. And you've got an open invitation to come to our social events when we're ever allowed to get back together, which is hopefully not too far away, face to face. And so we'll see some changes as well in our link officer role with Wendy, who I'm not sure, Wendy, if you are staying with us, because I had thought you were staying with us for a little bit longer or not. So let me know in the sidebar there. And also our treasurer role, which and with Lou stepping down, but also staying with us, I think, on the committee for a bit longer, Lou. So thank you to all of you for what you have done. We will do the formalities a little bit later as we get to the relevant bit in the agenda, but certainly just a big thank you from me personally for all of your support in your branch officer roles. So 1 to 2 months shadowing and then stepping down. So thanks, Wen. I mean, you know, and the same to you as well. Your contribution into this committee has been very much valued. And you know, you have an open invitation to come and still join us and contribute, and we hope you'll stay in touch. Okay, so that's enough from me. If you want to start preparing to take control, the next item on our agenda is so small, I can't actually see it. What is it, Viz?
It's the treasurer role.
The treasurer's report. Okay, so Louise, I am now going to hand over to you, please, to give us our excellent financial report.
Thanks, Claire. Are you all? Can you all hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, brilliant. So I'm assuming if I click the take control button, Zoe, I should be able to go through the slides. Then is it? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, let's have a go then. Okay. So yeah, I mean, you know, as we know, as a committee, we've worked really hard to ensure that our financial position is a good one, and we've sustained that now over the last year. So our accumulated fund is just over 70,000, and the activity over the last 12 months, that consists of retained funds from the previous year of just over 56. In-year income of 29, just over 29,000, and then an expenditure of 15, just over 15,000. what our bank balance is telling us is that we've got a balance of 72,846. Some of the things that will run into this financial year is just one outstanding debtor membership, but we're resolving that, and then some outstanding payments then for our recent diversity event that took place just last week, but we're anticipating no sort of bad debts for this year. So just sort of in summary, you know, how we've operated the finances over the last 12 months, we've elected to keep the local current membership at 682, and that's for another year. We've done that over the last sort of 3 years. What we've been working on is sort of resolving late fee payments from previous years, and we've done that through the support of the committee. We've also really worked well with National. Back 2 years ago, we agreed the principles of the financial control procedure. So we've been working within that remit, and that relationship has been building and working really well over the last 12 months, where we've also been able to agree the VAT recovery methodology with National. What we've also started looking at for the first time this year was a sort of 3-year forecast. And that enables us then to look at a more sustainable operating way of working, and the options of exploring an administrative support to support the momentum of the branch and the, you know, extensive programme events that we'd like to plan. So in conclusion then, we're reporting a year profit of just over 14,000. Whereby we really want to be spending. This was due to some of the COVID restrictions we had in the year, and we will be looking to increase and support the development events now moving forward. And as I said, looking at more of a 3-year forecast where we can put some sustainability administrative support in place then to support the HPM going forward. One of the other things we will be looking at as well is sort of income generation. So really focusing on that sort of sponsorship for some of our conferences, whether that be virtual or in a face-to-face nature. So that's it from me. Claire, any questions?
Anybody got any questions for Lou? No,
it's not a question.
Oh.
It's not a question, Claire. It's probably more of an observation.
Yeah.
Certainly during the couple of years that I've been involved, I don't think we've been, you know, in such a healthy position, and certainly the way that we've chased down some of the outstanding debts, and you know, I know sometimes as an organisation we can all fall foul of that one. So you know, big thanks to Lou in terms of getting us to this healthy place, really. So you know, I'm sure there are other branches out there that would give a right arm to be where we are.
I think you're very much right there, Gav. And big thanks also, Lou, to Jane. I know she's not here today, but let's not forget Jane's support. There is professional finance support that is given to us in these roles. I think that's you know, been a, I'm sure you'd agree, a real really valuable kind of contribution on her part.
Oh, massively, Claire. Jane has been fundamental into the professional guidance around the accounting, and you know how then we've been able to build relationships with National. I think National are really pleased with the way that we work, and I don't think that's the story across the UK on a national basis. So, you know, we from a Welsh branch perspective, we've really made you know, great progress in that, and Jane has been absolutely fundamental to it all. So she's definitely been our safety net.
Okay, thanks, Lou. Okay, so any other questions? Anything anybody would like to ask or comment? I know Jackie said, Louise, if you can't see it, well done, Lou. As you step down, we're in a fantastic position financially. You have managed things so expertly.
Thank you.
Right, please don't start crying now. Right. Okay, good. So fab position, really strong financial position as I hand over to Gareth. So Gareth, look after it, please.
So I get to spend it then, right?
No. No, yes, we should spend it. And I'm sure in your plans, as you take a look forward, you'll share with people some of the thoughts we've had around how we can make sure we're spending it, because it's there for a purpose, isn't it? It's not there to sit in a bank account and accumulate dust and interest. Okay, so good, thank you. If you could, Lou, if you could just move the slide on to the next slide for me, please. Thank you. So we've got now next the annual membership and business report. So Mitch, the floor is yours. If you would like to take control and take us through, then over to you.
Fab. Thank you very much. I say a thank you for your kind words at the start. I do appreciate them. So thank you very much for that. Oh gosh. I'm going to try and flick between my notes and the slide at the minute, so bear with me if there's a little bit of a delay between them. I'll see what I can do now. So thank you very much. Yes, so I'm going to look at the membership and business report. Going to cover the composition of our membership, the engagement, the governance, and the risk and challenges that we've faced over the last year. So just to mention at the start that we're quite proud that over the last year we've maintained 100% membership in HPMA in Wales, which covers all 13 organisations, as you can see set out on the slide. I just want to highlight as well that HPMA offer 3 types of membership: corporate, individual and commercial. Commercial only applies to HPMA National. In Wales, we do engage with commercial organisations, such as inviting to events, etc. However, commercial membership on our committee is not one of the offerings that we have here in Wales. So next, Louise touched on some of this, but just to run over that all membership organisations paid their membership fees for the annual period of 2020-2021. It had been discussed previously whether there should be an uplifting in the fee. However, following the pandemic, it was decided that it was not appropriate to do so because of everything that was going on at the time, and therefore no uplifting in the fee occurred. Therefore, they remained at £495 for corporate membership and £682 for the Wales NHS branch additional local fee. To note, discussions in relation to the annual fees will be taking place at this AGM today. I'm going to try and figure out how to move to the next one. Oh gosh, am I on the right slide? I can't quite see it at the minute. Subscriptions, there we go, membership engagement. So all events took place virtually this year, and I won't touch on this too much because I know Danny and Sean will cover it in a minute. So I'll just have a whistle-stop tour of this. As you can see, we were trying to engage with members in a different way this year. So it wasn't the usual getting together at the meetings or getting together at the events and having a chat. It was trying to do everything through the use of technology and using platforms such as Gwella and Microsoft Teams. And as you can see from the slides, events and activities primarily took place in the 3rd and 4th quarter of the last financial year, mainly because of the pressures that were put on us as an NHS service following COVID-19. We still maintained, which I think is fantastic, a high level of engagement with over 100 participants at each of our open hosted events by HPM in Wales, so some of the main events that we had. I want to note as well that there was a high attendance from HPMA Wales members at the national conference, which took place in December last year, which I thought was fantastic. So it was nice to see there was a good representation there. Just to touch on social media engagement as well, the @HPMA Wales Twitter account currently has 150 members. I've checked it this morning, so unless anybody's joined in the last hour, that should still be accurate. Which is actually, it's a fantastic increase. It's quite an impressive increase of 97 followers since the last AGM. So that was quite nice to see. So now we're looking at branch committee membership. As I agreed at the last AGM, as Claire touched on, the role of chair was a 2-year term. It's been decided that it was decided at the last AGM that a 1-year term was a little bit too short, so it didn't enable the incoming chair enough time to really put things in place. So it was decided it would be a two-year term. Even on this note, as Claire announced at the outset, the wonderful Claire Vaughan will be stepping down today, and the equally wonderful Gareth Hardacre will be stepping into the position. Gareth will take a seat on the HPMA National Committee as HPMA Wales Vice President, and our own Sarah Morley also continues in her role as Deputy President of the HPMA National. We had a good representation on HPMA Wales. We have a good representation even on the HPMA Wales Committee, with each corporate member having a representative. In relation to the governance officer role, as has been mentioned earlier, Jackie Parsons will be stepping down, well, has stepped down from the role, and myself and Vicky Harris have taken a post as co-governance officers. I hope you don't mind, I'm just going to have a quick personal reflection that having been in the role for a few months, I have a huge appreciation of the work that Jackie has put in and the quality of delivery of the work. And I just want to say thank you, Jackie. The support you've given me has been invaluable. Since I've taken on, I wouldn't have been able to do anything without being able to ask you for your support and help. So I just want to say thank you very much for that. I genuinely appreciate it. As Claire mentioned as well at the outset, other members will also be stepping down today, and officer roles will be revisited a little bit later on during the AGM. So now we just touch on branch governance. So in relation to governance at the HPMA Wales, we continue to follow all relevant policies and legislation. Terms of reference will be reviewed and revised as required. And as part of, and just to mention on the governance structures as well, the way that people report in, as part of the purposes of the committee, project leads or then project leads as well, report in on a regular basis in line with the area responsibility, so that everybody's kept abreast, and it's kind of the governance structure, how we can make sure that we keep a track of everything, and there is that reporting in mechanism. So I just want to highlight that that's what we've got there as well. So looking at branch activity and development, it aligns with the terms of reference. Meetings are scheduled for every 4 to 6 weeks. Our AGM in 2020 took place in June last year. Just to note that the August meeting was cancelled and the September meeting took place at the end of October. Other than that, everything took place as planned. So November to April in particular went ahead as planned. I say I won't touched on the event. Well, we'll touch on the events in a little bit. I say with Danny and Sianed. But I just want to show these slides to you so you can have a little bit of an idea of the events that took place.
Are you done, Mitch, or are you?
Almost done. I'm just
Okay.
trying to negotiate my my word and the notes. So I just want to touch on the annual plan for last year. So as you can see on screen, this is an outline of the annual plan and what took place in the previous financial year. I've mentioned a bit of what's on here already, but just highlighting that you can see the dates that the committee meetings took place, the dates that events took place, our previous AGM, dates for national, and I'll go into that a little bit more on the next slide, including the council meetings, the conference and AGM, which took place in December, the award ceremony, the national award ceremony that took place in October, and you can see the reporting dates and the CIPD conference and exhibition, which took place on the 11th and 12th of November. So as mentioned, national events and committee meetings, just to touch on the awards in particular. So there was an objective set last year that we were going to increase the number of submissions sent in. So I was quite pleased to see that 30 submissions were sent in for the 2020 awards in comparison with 9 the previous year. So that's quite an increase. So that was fantastic to see. That resulted in HPMA Wales having 4 nominations shortlisted, and Kay Myatt from Swansea Bay winning the award in the Rising Star category. So we did have a winner last year as well, which was quite nice. Council meetings take place quarterly, the national council meetings, and having representation on the committee means that we were able to contribute to a national strategy and plans over the 2020-2021 period. Just to touch on, I think I've skipped one. Do you know, this is a lot harder, this negotiating the 2 screens than I thought. Bear with me. National events and meetings. Oh, sorry. Risks and challenges. We'll get there in a second. To highlight the risks and challenges that we've faced. So this is the final slide. It's still relevant. A lot of these are still relevant as we enter the 2021 and 2022 period. And just to run over them quickly, time for committee members proved quite a challenge, having protective time to support HPMA and HPMA Wales. I think over the last 12 months, this has been a greater challenge than would normally be the case, obviously given the pressures that we've faced as a consequence of COVID-19. Time seems to have been an even more precious resource. There's also the risk, or there was a risk, of a discontinuation of sponsorship and the impact that that might have. I understand that formed part of the suggestion of increasing the reasons for the suggestion of increasing the membership fee to try and mitigate the potential loss of those costs. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, it wasn't appropriate to do so given COVID-19, so the risk was carried. Committee members also stepping down poses a risk of a loss of organisational intelligence and highlights the importance of shadowing and succession planning to mitigate this. Finally, challenges we have faced in the virtual world with technology. Accessibility to platforms in particular proved a bit of a challenge. However, this has now been explored to determine the appropriateness and suitability of the different options available to us. And with one eye on the future, I just want to note as well that consideration has been given to a dual approach going forward. So a mix of both virtual and in-person delivery when we're in a position and able to. So I just want to say thank you very much. That's it from me. I hope you find it informative, and diolch yn fawr am eich amser. Thank you very much. And yeah, I'll hand back over to Claire. So thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Can I just say well done? Because I know that's the first time you've had to do that, probably in this, certainly in this, and you've really stepped in and picked up the business and got underneath it all, and that's a really, really good comprehensive report and review for us looking back. So well done, and thank you for that. Lots of good sort of comments and feedback down the side too. Can I just ask if anybody's got any comments, any observations, or any questions they would like to offer whilst the congratulations for Mitch roll in down the side there? Mitch, if you want to read them. Anybody, if you can wave or put your hands up, I will see. No? Okay. Can I suggest that the one bit of business in there that Mitch has pointed out is the term for the chair. Now, Jackie raised this with me too. And we are looking at our terms of reference, aren't we, during this meeting later. And so well, actually next. So I would suggest we perhaps have a little bit of a discussion about the term of the chair, because we did change it last year to 2 years. But that was potentially partly on a reflection of what a strange year it had been and that we were in. So my view as the chair would be, I think 2-year term is good, and it enables you to actually do a little more and have some greater continuity. But I would welcome people's views. Oh, Sarah did too as well. Okay. Oh, well, there we are then. So maybe 2 years is what we want going forward. So shall we just move and flick to the HPMA branch terms of ref? Oh, sorry, the annual event. Oh, good question. Maybe, Zoe, we should have moved the terms of reference up under Mitch's thing. So we'll come back to it anyway. Right, 2 years is coming down the side. Let's stick with the agenda. And Danny and Sioned take control of the presentation and take us through the annual event and activity report then.
Bore da. Oh, I can hear myself. Maybe somebody needs to mute. I'm just going to take control of the slides. This is very fancy. Okay, so Sioned and I, but mostly me, unless Sioned wants to jump in, are going to just give you a quick rundown of the events that we've done over the last year. Those are the 4 events: the mock tribunal, the annual conference, the link officer development session, and the diversity and inclusion event. Obviously there was the national conference too, but we were not covering that in these slides. So I think we'll all agree it's been another fantastic year, and our events continue to be brilliant, and I can say that with confidence, as they're going really well, and the last one was Sioned and me, and that went really well. And we've had to really adapt and learn as we've been going along, and I think at this time last year we had a lot of learning to do. Actually, we didn't realise in terms of which platforms were the right platform, how to engage people, the type of events that might work, really thinking about moving from sitting down in a room together and working out how best it might work online. And I think we have learned as we've gone on, and we've taken feedback and we've adapted and changed as we've gone through the year, and it's going from strength to strength. So the first event was the Mock Employment Tribunal that Sioned led with Cymdeithas Law. We had 105 people attend. The platform was Zoom. The hashtag was HPMA Mock Tribunal. I've included the hashtag for most of the events because even now you could search it and look up and see the brilliant social media engagement that we had. So just one of the feedback that we had at the time was HPMA Wales yet again risen to the challenge, adapted and delivered another fantastic learning opportunity in the virtual world that we've all been propelled into. Well done, everyone, and big thanks to our legal and risk colleagues too. So there on the right is the flyer that we sent out. I know it's really small, it's just really for you to have a reminder of the event. And there's the event in action. That's our lovely Beth, who's a paralegal in the employment team, top left. And then the other three screens are barristers from Cymdeithas Law, including Jonathan Walters, who many of you will know, who we instruct quite regularly on employment tribunal matters and doctor disciplinary cases. It was a really good event and it was quite a short one. It was a morning session. And as part of our learning as well, we've also looked at different times of the day for our sessions, and the morning one worked really well. I think it was 9:30 to 11, and that seemed to work really well. We had really good attendance. One of the things that didn't work so well for us at the time was Zoom. And you can see there, I don't know if you can see it very large on your screen, but of the 36 responses we had to the survey, 33% said that Zoom didn't work well for them. And when we drill down into that, some of the health boards at the time weren't had a block on using Zoom. So lots of people had to find other devices at home to access our event. So we learned from that and we moved on and used different platforms since then. But I think that Zoom issue has probably been resolved in many parts of NHS Wales now as our IT has caught up with the needs of moving to a virtual world. Then we had our fantastic annual conference on the 5th of November 2020. Zoe, Louise and Sarah led on that for us, and it was another fantastic event. And that was a full day of sessions, much like we would have in an in-person event. But we were very grateful to use the Gofal platform from HIW. We had 153 attendees. We had the lovely delegate packs, which I think worked really well. So there's a little picture of that. There was the little mug with the spoon and the hand sanitizer, which was very timely. Again, the hashtag was looking COVID in the eye, and you can still look that up and see the great engagement we had. I'm just going to pause and apologise for a second because I have a builder just outside my door who is drilling. So if that makes too much noise, then I apologise in advance, and Sioned might have to jump in. The next slide shows, I know it's a bit small, but again, it's just to give you a flavour of the brilliant sessions we had that day. I have got a larger version somewhere that I can have a look at so I can read. We had brilliant speakers. We had Lucy Adams. It was chaired by Helen Arthur. And obviously we want to work really hard to make sure that our events are in collaboration with Welsh Government, Academy Wales, HIW, and to make sure that we're all given the same messages. We had Byron Lee, who talked about added value in learning, Alice Beveridge, who talked about the tree of knowledge. One of my favourite sessions actually was Rachel Ann Jones, who did the Finding Silver Linings, Confessions of a Positive Psychologist in the Midst of a Pandemic. And I don't know how many of you went on that session, but I found it really positive. And I used some of the tools in my new role, managing some very busy and stressed line managers in legal and risk, and that worked out really well. And some of the other breakout sessions included Rachel Gidman on the Dragon's Heart Hospital and setting that up and the workforce issues around that. We had Enact Solutions talking about productive conversations, a really good session as well from the British Army, leadership in a COVID context. And obviously we've been really grateful to have the support of the armed forces in helping us through the pandemic response over the last 12 months. And that was a really great session. We also had the lovely Sarah Patmore, who did a session on kissing the new normal, reflecting on what to kiss, keep, improve, start and stop. And Byron Lee also did a workshop. That was a really fantastic event, and the feedback again was really positive. The Twitter analytics show how great the social media engagement was. There were 13 tweets sent from the HPMA Wales account in preparation for the conference. there was more than 17,000 impressions, and I don't think that's meant to be 8 to 10. I think it's meant to be 8,100 engagements. And yeah, we had loads of tweets and retweets. So our social media strategy seems to be working very well. Then in order to show our appreciation and dedication to offering additional development support opportunities to our link officers, who I think we'll all agree do such a fantastic job getting our message out across Wales, and particularly Wendy, who's done an amazing job. And I can't believe you've been with us for 10 years. That's incredible. So huge thanks to Wendy. But Wendy led on that event. It was hosted by ACAS, and it was all about having difficult conversations. And whilst it looks like the attendance was small, it's because it was only meant to be that way, and it was just one space offered per health board and trust in Wales. That was run via Zoom with ACAS, and we didn't have any negative feedback about the use of that platform. So I think by December, we were in a better place for using Zoom, and that became a lot more commonplace across Wales. It was a 3-hour interactive session on having effective conversations, and it covered building rapport, showing empathy, acting quickly and effectively, and effective questioning. And I think just having that event and having such engagement from our link officers just shows that we really are committed to improving and developing our staff across all levels across Wales. And I think HPMA Wales continues to provide a really important role in that. We had some feedback there from ACAS, who did the feedback direct, and of the 12, there were 7 responses, 100% satisfaction with the session and 100% satisfaction about the presenter, who I think was Jill Mason, and she is brilliant, and we will continue to use her in our events. Then we came to our final event of the year, which was just a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago today, actually, 23rd of March 2021. That was with me and Sioned. We had over 150 people attend. We used Teams, which actually I think worked really well in the end. We thought really hard about the event and tried to think about whether we wanted people to sit by their computer all day or whether there was a different way of doing it. And so we tried out a new method where we asked the 4 main speakers to pre-record a session each. We sent those out up to a week before, hoping that people would just watch those around in their free time or when they had a quiet moment at work, which I can't imagine many of us have, but you can fit them in a lot better than if you just are required to sit for a whole day by your computer and watch a run of events. It seemed to work really well. The feedback has been really good, and also in terms of the way we set it up, it was also interesting to hear that some people weren't so keen and said that they hadn't had time to watch the sessions because work had been too busy. And I think we'd reflected a little bit on that, about what we're offering and perhaps what the mindset is of those who are our members. And actually, there is a bit of an expectation to do some of this development in your own time and not necessarily try and cram it into your already busy working day. So I suppose that's something for us to think about going forward in our events, and maybe we can explore that message in our teams locally. So we had 4 fantastic speakers: Nazir Afzal on why diversity matters. We had Employment Judge Stephen Jenkins, who talked a lot about how they're trying to ensure access to justice in this new world that we're living in, and how actually that's quite tricky. Especially some people obviously can't access computers at all, and that's the only way at the moment of attending tribunal hearings. Also, some of the difficulties and the disparities of and the imbalance of power sometimes between legal representatives and people who are representing themselves, and how judges try and step into that space and make it a more of a level playing field. We had Jason Mohammed, who was very entertaining, who talked about his journey from growing up in a, I can't remember how he described it, but perhaps not a well-to-do area of Cardiff, and then ended up commentating on the World Cup and the struggles and the challenges he's had along the way, and I thought that was really interesting too. And then the fantastic Robin White did a pre-recorded session on complex gender identities following her recent win in the Jaguar Land Rover case. And she also very kindly did a live Q&A for us, which again I think worked really well, and she had such fantastic feedback. So we've had her as a speaker maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but there's so much in that area to explore that I don't think we can get enough really of talking about the developments in that area. And Shauna did a really great piece as well. We had some national coverage in the HPMA newsletter. We also had really good interaction on social media. The delegate packs also went down really well. We won't call them bribes, but we did think that people would be very happy to receive cake and coffee in the post, and they did. And that really helped with our social media engagement too. We had lots of tweets and loads of positivity, and particularly with the pre-recorded sessions and the delegate packs, it really built that excitement for the event in the days running up to it, which I think also helped to keep our numbers really high. So there's just some feedback there. Really enjoyed the HPMA Wales event today. Great session with Robin White discussing gender identities, followed by a live panel session with Robin, Jason, Nazir and Judge Jenkins. Thanks all for the forward-thinking conversations. Incredibly thought-provoking and some great ideas on how to promote diversity and inclusion within our organisation. And I think you'll all agree it really did create quite a buzz. And we've been contacted, and it's really not kick-started because the conversation has already been going in Wales, but I think it's given it a big boost and reminded people that there's still so much more work to do in this area. And it's also led to us being contacted by some organisations, by the ED&I leads. I know, Claire, you've probably had a lot of chatter around that, and we've been contacted about some events that are coming up in Equality Week in May. And I think Sioned will probably talk to us about another potential event we could run in May as a follow-on, just so we don't lose that momentum of such a thought-provoking and forward-thinking session. So what has worked well this year? I think the virtual events have been brilliant. There were some teething problems early on with some of the platforms we used, but we've learned from those. And I think we've probably got to a place where Teams is the best platform for our NHS Wales colleagues. The pre-recorded sessions combined with the shorter live session, that's also worked really well. It doesn't mean we always have to do that, but I think it's quite a nice alternative, and it seemed to fit in with a lot of people's work and home life. Social media attention has really helped to build our brand and to advertise future sessions, and I know that we're all a bit better this year at tweeting, and the committee are getting really good at that, so thank you. And delegate packs have also been really popular, and that's led to lots of social media interaction. And in terms of ideas for future events, I've pulled out some of from the feedback that we've had over the last year, just so that we've got ideas going forward. And as usual, it's things like grievances, disciplinary capability processes, employment law updates with case studies, fixed term contracts, 2P, mock mediation. And this is interesting. I think we should really think about this. Some sort of mock mediation session in line with the healthier working relationships agenda. And I think we could probably be really quite a key part in the information around that and making sure the right messages get out to the service. A case involving managing occupational health, managing advice from occupational health, so that we can attract attendance from our OH colleagues. I think again that's a really good idea. We need to probably work better with our OH colleagues, and you know the constant theme is improving our culture, teamworking, and emotional intelligence. And the drilling is just about to begin again, so I'm going to stop talking and I'll take questions, and I'll just mute myself for a minute.
Thank you, Danny. That's great. Really comprehensive look across our events, and just a moment, I think, for us all to pause and say, do you know what? What we've run here has been really good. As I said, really relevant, great speakers, great feedback that we've had. Really good attendance. So an average, looking at that, an average of 150 people at most of our events. So we're almost there with our next event, with 133. Only another little push and we'll be there. Not that it's a competition, but so thank you. Let's open it up for comments or observations or questions. I know we've got some comments coming in down the side about amazing events over a challenging time from Claire. Sarah commenting on that point you were just picking up, Danny, about the kind of the creeping in perspective of professional development being something that has to be done in work time and not owned by the individual, and then actually, an element of it outside. And what do we do about that? So who's, I've got a hand up, just bear with me so I can have a look to see whose that is, because it's not popping up on my screen easily. Or do you just want to shout and jump in, whoever's hand that is, because it's not showing me?
It was Danny.
Carry on then, please.
I was on the committee a few years ago and there's some great things going on, but things I think have even pushed on since then. and looking at the presentation that Danny's just given, the sort of things that are being run are absolutely fascinating and absolutely brilliant. I mean, I was involved a lot in the inclusion event, and to see the caliber of people involved also. From a comms perspective, I think it's fascinating in terms of how the event has driven social media and social media has driven the event. And one thing that has stood out, and it's been working for the event in May as well, video, and how key that has been to provide samples or tasters for what's to come. And I think that has really helped in terms of driving people to events. Put the Mr. Motivator video up last week, nearly 200 people have viewed it already. And you can see from the people that have signed up for May, it's really, really helping. So I just wanted to add that comment, that's all. But this is brilliant work, really, really good.
Thank you, Darren. That's great. And Danny's saying down the side there that very grateful for all the support and help you've already given. Both now you've joined us more formally again, but you have been helping us over the last year or two as well informally. So and that has been noted. So thank you. Somebody else has got their hand up. My hands are not working.
It's me, Claire.
Yeah, Sarah.
I just wanted to again say that how impressive the calibre of the events are, given the challenges, especially of the last year. I'm just really, really keen that as we've learned so much about great different ways of running things, that we don't lose that. And I know this is shared by colleagues, because actually we've, for the first time, broken down all those geographical barriers which we've been grappling with for years in HPMA. And unfortunately, because of the last year, we've had to grapple with those and they've disappeared. And we need to just really build on that now, even when we can get back together physically in a room together. And we're very innovative as a committee. And actually, this is going to provide us with another opportunity to think differently about how we get the right balance.
Thanks, Sarah. Really good points there, particularly about the geography and the breaking that down. Gareth, is now a good point actually to talk about what you've just put in the sidebar there?
Yeah, you'll see when we get on later on. I've done some thinking around the forward look, but one of the things that struck me, and it was the week before last when I was having a conversation with somebody else about that particular event, that we've never looked at actually submitting any of the work that we've done in that vein for a HPMA award in itself, and I think that one was so unique. And the response that we got from it, I did wonder as to whether we actually wrote that up for a submission for the HPMA awards, and there are a couple of categories that it could potentially fit into, because of not just the content, for want of a better description, and the quality of the event itself, but also the reach, and the way that it's got people really thinking long and hard about some of the issues that came out of that particular event. So that's probably something we need to take offline, but I thought it was helpful perhaps to raise it here, because conscious we've got about a month left, or slightly under a month before the deadline for the award submissions to go in, and I just thought it was one, it was an opportunity too great to miss, really.
Thanks, Gareth. Yeah, and particularly I think if we can turn some of the ideas that came through that into reality. So if we could demonstrate, for example, and Sarah will grab that cup of coffee and talk about it, but the idea that came out around the community of practice on EDI, that somebody wanted to see a place where they could share ideas and problems and challenges, because we don't have that at the moment. So I think, yes, okay, comments from other colleagues around just initially, we will take that outside, but just an initial reaction or thought to Gareth's suggestion there?
Yeah.
That's a yes from Sarah. Okay. You're all very quiet, sir. And if you're nodding, marvellous. I can't see it, just telling you. So, just, like I said, I can see Sarah nodding. So if Sarah nods, marvellous. But either put it down the sidebar or put your hand up and actually say something. Please don't be afraid to.
You can always click on the pictures, Claire, and you can see the pictures then instead of the
Yeah, I can see it instead of the slides.
Yes.
Yeah, good point. You know, when I said about us becoming expert in Teams and all of that, you know, lying.
The beauty is as well, Claire, Daniela and Sean have both given it a thumbs up without reason.
Yes.
They're probably going to end up writing it as well.
Today, yeah. Right, okay, fab. All right, Sean, anything you wanted to add before we move on to the next item there?
No, not. I think that was expertly presented, Dan. Thank you. Just one follow-up thing. The buzz, I guess, from even a virtual event was noticed at the diversity event, which I think was quite remarkable. And we've had so many discussions from organisations in terms of how to progress this, which we will at Legal and Risk try and sort of hold the reins on and sort of share the good practice, because I think we're in a good place to do that. One of the things Dan briefly mentioned was how we follow up from this, and obviously HPMA will be quite key in doing that. We've decided not to sort of step on the toes of the equality leads in their sort of event for the NHS Employers England Week for Equality, but we will try and get a follow-up event at the end, either at the end of May, beginning of June, and Nigel Owens has agreed to be one of the speakers for that. So we've already had those discussions with him, and he's really keen, and he doesn't want payment, he just wants a donation to one of his charities. So we are continuing with the conversations. Any sort of suggestions for people, we'd welcome, because we're running out of ideas, but we're thinking about it, and hopefully we'll have another follow-up event which is on the similar sort of strategy.
Excellent. I knew that would perk up Zoe and Howell. As soon as you said that, I was waiting for the reaction down the side. Marvellous.
Great.
All right, that's great. Well done, Joned. Good stuff. You're exceptionally persuasive and charming, I think. Are you?
I don't take no, so nobody really. I try back and I'm like, well, that no, can you change that to a yes?
Yeah, okay. And Kay makes a good point there, because I know that Mr. Motivator asked for the same thing, didn't he, to have a donation. So we're just trying to work out, aren't we, how we do that as a charity to another charity. So I'm sure it can be overcome. I'm sure it can.
Well, the daft part is we pay for other contributors, so it's got to be done. It's just how do we do it? Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, all right. So let's move on then, shall we? Thank you for that. Really great programme, and I think some fab events to come, and a really another good year. And all of this is about how we communicate, as Darren said, and how we get things out there. And Darren's points were well made, and look forward actually to hearing a little bit more from Darren as we get through the agenda and start to talk about the communication strategy and plan for us going forward. And Claire, yeah, I think that's an alternate way of doing it. We pay them and they donate their fee. So okay, let's move on then. So thank you for that. So HPMA Wales branch terms of reference. Have we got? Let me just take control. Ta-da! Right. I'm saying ta-da, but you don't actually see any difference, dear. Right. So, oh, nothing there. The terms of reference Zoe has circulated separately, haven't you, Zoe?
I have, yeah. It should be in this chat under the files part.
Right, okay. So if I can just ask everybody just to take 2 seconds to go in and have a little look at our Teams channel. By the way, is there anybody that doesn't have access to our Teams channel now? And if you don't, can you just let us know down the side there so that we can make sure that you do have access, because we're encouraging everybody to use this far more often, and for us to get some conversations going virtually. My system is slowing down, so I'm just going to try and, I've got too many things open. Okay, so yes, no worries, we can get you sorted with it, with access. There we are, Sean, it's going to add you. Right, okay, so as the system is slow and just opening, let's just work our way through the terms of reference. I mean, obviously we need to update this, but I'll take it as a whole, I think. And did anybody have any comments or observations on the terms of reference, any points that they felt would need to be updated? I know we've talked about the term of the chair, so shall we formally agree? I think it seemed to be quite overwhelming down the sidebar that it should be a 2-year period and not a 1-year period.
Yeah.
So shall we, if I propose that we formally change that, can we agree that, everyone? You can nod if you like.
So then that's a three-year commitment overall.
Yes. Yeah, happy?
But actually you won't be allowed to leave at the end, so.
Yeah. And actually Sarah won't want to leave by the end anyway.
Indeed.
We'll want to stay. So, okay, so I'm not seeing anybody say they disagree with that term of reference. So let me just, and I'll just sense check. So Gareth, that's 2 years now for you, yeah? You're happy with that? And Howell, that's 2 years for you in as the vice chair, shadow chair. Are you happy?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of continuity, because you've then got with yourself as the immediate past chair, you've got that nice sort of window in terms of continuity and being able to get things done. And with Sarah with the national role as well, I think it does work. It does work quite nicely. So we've got that continuity baked in as well.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll all agree that one. First of all, does anybody have any comments on any other aspects of it, of the committee, whether that be, for example, on the kind of the role of the HPMA Wales Committee or the additional role of committee members? Are we still content that those are relevant and up to date?
We just need to change Appendix 1 now, Claire, don't we? Which is the list of committee members and their roles.
Yes, yeah, we have to update all of that. Are we happy then that it's, I was just reflecting on what we were saying earlier about, there's something about, I know we say represent the views, there's something about advocating, isn't it? For me, we advocate on behalf of our profession in a wider system. This is the bit about the voice.
Yeah.
That isn't necessarily coming through particularly strongly to me within that kind of first section of the role of the HPMA committee and the additional role of committee members. So if colleagues are happy, I'm happy to work on a bit of wording to try and input into that to better reflect or strengthen that role of advocacy and voice.
Also, Claire, sorry to butt in. I just wonder whether we need to reflect in there a role for HPMA Wales as a partner with NHS Wales in terms of the delivery of our some of our work programmes. There's a partnership role there, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And if you look, it'll come up in my slides. I raised both those issues in terms of my view as well. In terms of this should be the go-to network for people professionals in the NHS in Wales is the way that I've described it. So I wholeheartedly agree. If we perhaps rephrase the section.
Okay.
Just
can you give us a line? Give us just ping through an email, give us a line of what you'd like to see in there and we can update that.
Sure.
Fabulous, thank you. Any other comments or observations or suggestions of what we'd like to see in there, or otherwise can we take the TOR as read, subject to those amendments and additions we've just discussed? I'm not seeing any more hands going up. All sounds good to me. Jackie agrees with all the points made, re-additions. Anybody got any concerns? No? No? Okay. That is good. Wendy's happy. All right, well, let's take those then. So we'll take the TOR, no substantive amendment needed to it, just on those couple of points, some tweaking. So, and we will, between me, you, Gareth and Mitch and Sarah, we'll just reflect some of those changes and get them updated and circulate them then virtually or put them in the team. Yeah, Claire suggested just a stronger link with the CPD and some of our partners, which we know was part of our plans last year and we'll talk about for this year coming. Okay, good. Thank you. That's really helpful. So let's move us along from that one. And I have clicked off, so you can probably see yourselves on my screen, can't you? Because no?
No, it only shows you.
No.
Oh, okay, fine. I thought maybe you were seeing what I was seeing.
No, because you haven't actually shared your screen, Claire.
Oh, good point, Sarah. Thank you. Once again, another learning moment for me.
Is the Teams masterclass.
The IT trainer in me dies very hard, I'm telling you.
Right, okay, so that's the terms of reference. So our next agenda item, guys, so help me out there. What is that one?
It's the committee membership review.
Right, okay, committee membership review. So this is where we're going to get to all of our changes, isn't it? Okay, so I think Mitch summarised it all beautifully earlier, where we have some formality now to do, where we will formally thank those officers who are stepping down and formally welcome and nominate and go through the process of bringing those new replacement officers through into their formal branch roles. So I am going to see, this is the challenge. So can I ask you a favour? Could you take control of the presentation slides and just have that up for the moment while because I can't read them from this screen, sorry.
Yeah, no.
That would be really helpful, thank you. Okay, so shall we start with the chair role, first of all? And there is some formality around the chair role, as colleagues may be aware. So because essentially what we are doing is appointing a new branch vice president lined to the national HPMA. So we have taken advice from Nikki and the team there, who have advised us of the formality and the rules and the bylaws of HPMA, and the critical point in that is that the appointment of a new vice president needs to be with the approval of the president of the HPMA. So that is section 5.2.9 in there. Nikki has given us that, and actually there's nothing in there. We can, for the record, we can carry that across so for the minutes in, so that there's a formal record of it. But I would just like to confirm, I don't think we need to second this for this one today. I would like to confirm that Dean, as the president, has approved the appointment of Gareth into the role of vice president now for the branch and the chair. And the note that was given was Dean has approved the appointment of Gareth into the role given his work as the deputy, the professional approach the branch takes to all aspects of HPMA. And they know, very much that Gareth will be an asset to us and continue on the good work of the branch. And, I think it's reflective, isn't it, of the really strong voice that we have had, an influential voice that we have had now over the last year or two in the national space, representing Wales, so that it hasn't been a very English-centric kind of discussion as it might have been in previous years. So, thanks go to Sarah really as well for doing that. Okay, so Gareth, are you happy to take on the role for the record? You better say yes now.
Yeah, go on. You twisted my arm.
Yeah,
I should tell them the story, shouldn't I, about how you did actually twist my arm.
You should, but you won't. I was just being charming and influential. That's all you need to say.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so welcome to Gareth, who will, by the end of this meeting, take on the chair role, which is fabulous.
I'm just seeing the stuff in the sidebar.
Yes, excellent, good. Right, okay, so as shadow chair then, or deputy chair or vice chair, however we want to say it, there is no formal role as a vice president from a national perspective, sorry Harold, but there is a formal role for us here locally. So as Gareth moves up into the chair, Gareth, you are nominating Howell to be your deputy, for want of a better phrase. So
correct, yeah.
Everybody happy? Do
Yes.
we? I second that, but Sarah has strongly seconded it or said she's happy there. There's no dissent anywhere. Everybody's happy with Howell. So now, Howell, you are formally welcomed into the shadow vice deputy chair role.
Thank you. I think Gareth twisted my arm in the way that he just criticised you for twisting his. But I quite like
history. Yeah.
I quite like the title assistant to the vice president, so I might go for that instead.
All right, well, we'll call you that then. Good. So we look forward to seeing you now at all the committee meetings. Good. Right. Okay.
Silence.
Right. So next change then is with Louise. As we mentioned earlier, Louise has done a fantastic job as our treasurer over the last couple of years. And whilst we are sad to see her step back, we are also delighted to be able to welcome Claire, who has volunteered and put herself forward. So Louise is nominating Claire to take over from her. Can I ask if everybody is happy with that? Anybody wants to shout out and say yes?
Yes.
Thank you, Sarah. You're doing well.
Yes. Because I'm not on mute, that's why.
Okay, so lots of love for Louise down the sidebar and lots of support for Claire. So Claire, thank you for offering and agreeing to take on the role of treasurer. You will of course have Louise's support, I'm sure, because I know Louise is staying with us. And you will of course have Jane's support, because I believe Jane is going to stay with us as well, and the support of the rest of the committee as well, obviously. So welcome to the team.
Thanks all.
Good. We've got obviously Claire now moving into the treasurer role. It looks like we've got a gap for memberships engagement. And so shall we, because we haven't got a natural successor or who's coming through on this as yet, can I just see if there is anybody that would like to volunteer to pick up that role on the committee for us? Anybody want to volunteer, or anybody want to nominate anyone for that role? Claire, do you want to give just a bit of a very quick idea of what the core element of the role is, what the central purpose of it is?
Yes, of course. I took over this from Sue. So it was quite a difficult one to get the head around at first, because we have obviously such good people doing the comms on everything as well. But I know we did a lot of work with Jackie and Darren on when we did events, how do we really link in with people across Wales and let them know what we're all about and engage the workforce element, the OD element, the L&D, etc. And we started conversations around things like those short drop-in sessions on LinkedIn. There was the conversations with Darren and Richard. So it's really how we let people know we hear that, but actually engaging with the individuals and the teams as opposed to the engagement on social media, etc. So it's I think there's some we need to set some guidelines and some priorities there to stop it being it could be anything role. We need to define our priorities for that role, I think.
Thank you, Claire. That's really helpful. So do we have anybody amongst us today who would like to volunteer to take that on? Don't all rush at once. Okay, Look, so rather than put people on the spot, can I invite you, those of you who don't yet have a formal committee role but are an active member of the committee, to have a think about whether or not you would be prepared to take that on. I mean, all of our roles, I think, whilst they require, you know, a degree of commitment and contribution on your time, they are also valuable opportunities and development opportunities. And networking opportunities. So if I could encourage you to have a think about that and let Gareth know if you are interested. I'm sure Claire would be more than willing to have a separate conversation around it with you and help to understand what it looks like or what it could look like. It's very much to me that this is an opportunity to shape something as well going forward. And you might be interested or excited by that prospect. Gareth?
Yeah, I thought it would be helpful. And to be fair, I didn't get a chance to pick up with Zoe or yourself beforehand. We've also, and I did put it in the sidebar earlier, we're also going to be looking for somebody to take on board the role of the sponsorship officer. To be fair to Rhiannon, she's recently been promoted in the structure here in NWSSP and has taken on a piece of work nationally on the healthier working relationships and is going to struggle to give it the level of commitment that she's previously done. So we're also going to be looking to entice somebody into the sponsorship role as well. Rhiannon's going to be around, so it's not as if you're not going to be unsupported. And hopefully then we'll be able to encourage somebody to get involved. And the sponsorship role is very much around our events, getting business partners to come forward with part of their cash is the way that I describe it. And to be fair, Rhiannon's done a good job at getting some revenue in for us historically going forward. So again, you know, it's not for today. I'm not expecting somebody to immediately jump forward and stick their hand up, but it would be helpful if there is anybody out there that's got an interest. Certainly let's have a conversation and we'll see if we can bring a replacement on board for Rhiannon as well.
Okay, thanks, Gareth.
She did want to be here today, but she's actually running one of the healthier working sessions, so it's taken over quite a bit of commitment in a diary now.
No worries, thank you. Lou, you wanted to come in.
Yeah, thanks, Claire, and thanks, Gareth. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind putting my hat in the ring to take on that sponsorship role. I was going to try and stand back, but I'm like, oh God, I want to do something. So, you know, I'd be happy because I think it's got a good link with Claire and Jane then around the finances. So I'd be happy to pick up that role if the committee would support that.
I'd certainly support it. You know, I'd bite your hand off, to be honest, with your experience as well, Louise. So, you know, I can't see that there's any dissenting voice going to come from the committee.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Lou. I hadn't quite expected you to then volunteer for a new role.
I know.
I don't think she had.
No.
So that is great. That is great. And so, everybody supportive of Louise picking up the sponsorship role?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Sarah,
Yeah.
thank you. Good. All right. Yes. There we go, Lou. You are now officially our new sponsorship officer.
Fab.
We probably
Brilliant.
need to put that on the list, don't we? There.
Yeah.
So we have got I'm now feeling marginally under pressure now to volunteer for the membership's engagement role.
Go on, I dare you.
I'll think about it. I'll have a think about it. Right,
No,
okay.
New people.
Right,
Yeah.
how will you
Yes,
take the
I
left
think
shoulder?
so.
I'll take the right shoulder.
I'm with Sarah. I think we need an opportunity to get some new people in, don't we? Some new faces to come in and link and with us and raise their profile and network and everything. But anyway, yeah, I'm laughing at your gifts as well down the side. Right, okay. So moving on, we've talked, haven't we, about governance officer, and we have previously brought on board Mitch and Vicky and acknowledged that. So I think that's for noting today. Then we have the change to the link officer coordinator. So as Wendy has told us all, she has made a decision after 10 years of being with the committee now that it is time to step back. She's got new challenges and new opportunities at work and a new role there, similarly to Rhiannon in many respects. So we thank Wendy for her many, many dedicated years of service and the fab work she's done with those link officers and in developing that role. And I'd like to propose Zoe to take on this role. So Zoe has been invaluable as our administrator and my right-hand woman in the committee, but it's time for a change, I think, for Zoe, and she can do so, you know, lots more and wants some variety. And so I'd like to propose Zoe to take on the link officer role. Anybody want to second that or support it?
Happy to
second it.
Excellent, thank you, good. I heard somebody else say they're happy to support it, so that's marvellous as well. So Zoe, welcome now to the link officer coordinator role. I know Wendy has said she is pleased to stay on for another month or two to support and shadow and hand over, but I've got every confidence as well that you'll pick that up now and run quickly with it, and with a new group of link officers, really, by the looks of it, almost. Some great opportunities there to develop them and to give something back to them for what they do for us as a committee. So thank you for that. And then administrator, clearly with Zoe stepping back, we have a gap there. Now, I won't, Gareth, I'm not going to talk about this. I think you might want to talk a bit about this and what the opportunities are going forward under your slot. So shall we just hold that one and pause at that one? Yes. Are you still there, Gareth?
Yeah, I forgot as I moved. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, okay. So we'll come back to that and we'll do that. So lots of change in the committee today, but lots of positive change, lots of positive movement. And whilst we're losing, you know, some real sort of depth of knowledge and expertise from Wendy and from Jackie there, I'm sure, as we said earlier, you will stay in touch with the committee members. You know, these are friends and networks and relationships that will last and endure beyond whether or not you sit around the formal or virtual table. And we're always here. I've no doubt we will be dropping you an email to say, by the way, what do we do about this at some point? And look forward to seeing you at our events going forward. So that's the formality. Anybody got anything they want to add? Anything, lots and lots of comments. I won't try and read them all down the side, but lots of positive comments for colleagues there and lots of love for everyone as well. So, which is lovely to see. So should we move on to the next item, please?
Yep. 2 stacks just load in. Okay, yeah, so that's just highlighting any gaps now that we have, including the committee members for HIW, Public Health Wales and Cardiff and Vale. But we can pick that up again. That's fine. Okay. Changes to link officers. That's fine. And then there we are. So Gareth.
Okay, so Gareth, over to you.
Yeah, just a quick couple of points that I thought I'd raise. I think the last, you know, we use many words to describe the last 12 months or 18 months in particular in terms of the challenges we face. But I think coming out of COVID, I think the strength that we've had and what we've managed to achieve within the COVID period, it does give us a solid foundation to build on. So certainly these are my personal thoughts in terms of what I would like to see coming out of the role, and there's a real ambition, I think, which is shared by hopefully the group in terms of how we grow the branch post-COVID. We've got the challenge of the new virtual world, and at some point over the next 6, 12, 18 months, you know, some form of normality will resume, and we'll have to think about how we mix the in-person against the virtual. But there's no doubt that, you know, we've made massive progress in terms of how we've managed that and the events and the blend that we've brought, and that's going to remain a bit of a challenge for us. But actually, I'm pretty confident that we're in a really good space to deliver that. And then we touched on earlier a bit about the development in the profession and the work with the Workforce Directors Network. Some of you might know that there is an active conversation with ourselves as workforce directors around developing the profession, supported by HAW and Julie and the team there. And the PPMA, I think, has got a really key place to play in that that dialogue. So that's definitely a key area that I think we need to look at and remain in. We've got the healthy network, and some of us can remember back perhaps 3 or 4 years ago where we didn't have so many link officers and we didn't have such a strong presence locally. And I think we've now really built that. It's nice to see so many new faces coming through as the link officers, and that does give us an opportunity now to really grow that part of the network and get your own identity locally as well, and get your own teams more active locally. So that's definitely something that I'm looking to carry forward into the next 2-year period. And I think, to be fair to Sioned and Daniela, they've raised the bar in terms of the events that we've run. I think it would be fair to say that nationally we've come across their radar already, and I would be keen to get some of our events widened and get some national exposure, and I think that would be quite helpful for us as a branch. We talked in one of the earlier slides around the applications for the national awards. I think we've got some real good work here that is ongoing in NHS Wales, and particularly through the HPMA, that we need to take that proud and loud kind of approach, and we do need to get that in there and actually start to get some recognition from HPMA National for some of the projects and some of the work that we do. So that's definitely a key consideration for me. I haven't taken controls though, so could you flip forward a slide if you've still got control, because I'm not quite in the technology world that Claire is in. Unfortunately, this year, because of the events, we didn't really get the HPMA awards in Wales to a really sort of place that I was hoping we were going to get to. We also had the winners of the previous award, who of previous sponsorships in the previous awards, that didn't get to attend the conference because the conference went virtual. So hopefully we can pick that up and relaunch our own awards and see that also act as a feeder into the national awards. And I talked earlier when Sarah made the reference about the go-to network for people professionals across the NHS in Wales. Yes, we've got the CIPD professional body, but I think it would be really, really good if we could get an active community and be seen as the active place to go. I'd be quite keen to look at some work around branch surveys to better understand what the ask is from the branch. I think our link officers now are far stronger than they were 2 or 3 years back in terms of the volume and quality. So it'd be really good to do some work with the branches to see what is coming from them and survey them. No challenge here then, Lou, if you've taken up the role in terms of the sponsorship. How do we generate more income and how do we get some revenue in, not just to generate money, but actually to have money to reinvest back in the network and in the events that we want to run. And I think there is a recognition from HPMA National that we are probably punching a little bit above our weight as a branch. And I'd like to certainly see that continue and be a really active contributor to HPMA National events. And I suppose personal reflection for me, and I know 1 or 2 of my colleague directors on the call will probably see this hit a bit of a soft spot with them as well. I think there is a role for us to play as HPMA Wales around how we look at our own diversity and think about our own inclusion agenda as a branch and as a committee. And I was particularly taken by the event that Daniela and Sioned ran recently, and both the format but also the content. And as a bit of self-reflection for me, it did make me take a step back and think about, okay, where are we as a branch, particularly. And then the last one, I think it was the first time in quite a while I viewed Sir Welsh. So well done, Mitch. in terms of his particular presentation. But we are the Welsh branch, and it would be remiss of us not to recognise the fact that we've got some responsibilities under the Welsh language that we do need to make sure that we promote the language as well. So that is, some of you who know me who know that I'm a Welsh speaker, you probably would expect that from me, but it is something that I feel quite passionate about, and particularly when the rugby's on, we get Zoe and Howell going in particular. If we can get them singing in Welsh, we'll be even better. So that'll be a good one to look forward for. So those were some of my personal thoughts in terms of generating some activity for the next 2 years. I think I've been involved with the HPMA in Wales now for the last 3 to 4 years, and I have to say I've seen it grow massively. So I know there's a challenge for me about how do I now take that forward in the new role as the branch chair. I've got some personal memories that will always stick with me. In terms of some of the events that we've run. I think Howell's performance in the mock tribunal, for example, 2 years ago. I don't think I'll ever be able to think of Shirley Bassey in the same light ever again, for those of you that were in the presentation. So we can and we do put some really good events and some really good output out there. I genuinely think we've got a chance coming out of COVID now to maximise that. And use the power that we've got now with the link officers and the branch networks in a way that we probably haven't been able to before, because we've not had the numbers, and as we've sort of said previously, that proud and loud bit, let's shout that out there, and let's get National to be aware that that little corner sort of sitting on the left hand side in Wales, they really do produce some really good stuff. And yes, thanks Claire for the pink shirts. Yeah, that was probably a personal, because nobody knew that we didn't actually plan that. We literally turned up for the conference and we actually, ironically, had exactly the same shirts on. So that was quite embarrassing, but it worked quite well. Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Twins film, I think, was the memory. Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you, Gar. I mean, look, the comments down the side, as Sarah said, I think that's a fantastic and great look forward, isn't it? And as the outgoing chair, absolutely support everything that you've got in there, particularly around that diversity piece. And I know that just to put back on our radars, we did previously have a bit of a conversation about whether or not we needed some more formal roles as both the diversity sort of an inclusion officer and also for youth, sort of for a youth role. So I wonder whether that would be something that as a committee we might want to think about doing again and bringing some new blood in and creating some specific roles as we've got opportunities for people, whether they be a direct route in and for, as positive a way forward for somebody from a BME background from our communities, and or for somebody, to pick up the youth officer role. You don't want me picking up the youth officer role, let's be honest. Getting too long in the turf. Okay.
And the only other thing I was going to say is I do recognise that when you look at the list of officers, etc., there's quite a heavy NWSSP presence, and it was something that struck me when I looked at the list. But I'd remind everyone that shared services is effectively run by NHS Wales for NHS Wales. So we are you and you are us. So it's one and the same. So I'm quite keen that we use wherever possible the resources that we've got in shared services for the benefit of the HPMA as well. And I know there are a number of the team that obviously are very active contributors, and hopefully we'll get one or two more as well as we grow.
Okay, great. Can I just say I quite like that little strap line. We are you and you are us, or you are us and we are you, whichever way round you said it. I quite like that.
Very good. That's
quite good. We could, Darren, write it down for the comms stuff.
It's written.
Excellent, good. Okay, does anybody else have any more comments or questions that they'd like to ask of Gareth now about the forward look and what the future looks like? Anything you'd like to see that wasn't picked up there or reflected? Feel free to comment or offer some contributions either down the side or?
Yeah,
in
okay,
your discussion?
offline if you want.
Yeah.
Conscious sometimes people don't want to contribute to public.
Okay, all right, good. Can I just congratulate you all? This more and more creeping in pink HPMA backgrounds there in your Zoom backgrounds. Excellent work. Right, okay, good. So let's move on. And thanks for that, Gar. I think that's great. We just need to make sure now that we pick some of that stuff up and make sure it's fully reflected through in the branch plan, isn't it? That Mitch has been pulling together on our behalf, which is a really good document. And so I think it'd be good to reflect some of that in there as well. When you say we're on Teams, oh, Zoom, Teams, same thing. Virtual. Stop being pedantic, Morley. Right, okay. HPMA, exciting bit now, Darren. Exciting opportunity now to talk about having a proper communication strategy or plan for our committee, genuinely, because I think that's really a really great opportunity for us now. So the floor is yours. Take control of the slides and run us through some of your ideas and thinking. And particularly we can think about, I invite everybody to think about how this can sort of support and underpin what Gareth has just been talking about and what we've, heard throughout our session this morning.
Yes, of course. I can't on my, because I'm working off my laptop. I don't know. Zoe, could you move the slides for me, please?
Yeah, 2 seconds. Did you click stop presenting?
I did, yeah.
That's fine. I'm taking it off. It's all right. I'll just re-upload it. No problem.
Thanks, Zoe. It's coming up so small on my screen. I can't see my slides and everything.
That's okay.
And thanks for the intro, Claire. I did try and find a pink tie. I had a pink tie from previous encounters, but I can't find it. So let me do with this one.
Can everybody see that? Has it moved?
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. Fab.
There we are. Great. Okay. Well, thanks for giving me some time on this today. What I tried to try and keep this brief. I am one for a bit of a detail, so I'll try and keep it sort of low down as possible as far as I can. It's going to be a living and breathing document. It's an action plan of sorts. And what it's going to do, basically, I'm going to look at some of the directions, your objectives and principles. And I put some slides together to provide some context behind the sort of plans, which we'll go into a bit more detail. So these next few slides are just sort of to give a bit of context behind things. So the plan itself, the way that I've structured it is going to be a bit proactive and reactive. There's some great stuff going on. We do react to things, but the proactive side is absolutely fantastic. What I'm trying to do is build on the great stuff that exists. So I want to work with you, not sort of go off in sort of directions. As I mentioned, it's a live document. This will go on and be updated as we progress. There are some things I think that are set in stone, some quick wins and things that are already done. The other bits and pieces then will happen over the coming weeks, months, and perhaps years ahead. As I've mentioned, it will work alongside any business as usual and everything else that goes with that. If you can go forward, please, Zoe. Thanks. So the aims are quite simple, really, to ensure that stakeholders and partners are informed and engaged. It'll help to embed the strapline. Now, I might identify the strap and create an opportunity to develop people and networks for sharing and learning. I think we might shift to that to Gareth's sort of strap there that you just mentioned about Me Too. One of the things that drive any sort of plans in comms to ensure that we have the appropriate assets and platforms and function in place to sort of realise everything and obviously develop the brand. Next one, please, Zoe. So the principles, as I mentioned, proactive and reactive. Work closely with colleagues and stakeholders to make things happen. I think the one key thing, and looking at some of the things that we discussed today, there is some measurement that does get undertaken, and it's highlighted with the current approach that it works really well. But I think there's other techniques and things that we could use which I would incorporate to measure. So it's very important to understand, there's some great stuff out there, but how effective is it? What are we getting back out of this? And everything associated with that. Next one, please, Zoe. Okay, so some of the key things that I identify, key messaging, based on the sort of the corporate and the other bits and pieces that I picked up, is that we play important part in supporting members, being professional, supporting networks, promoting the learning. That's key through the events. You know, the sort of diversity and everything involved in that is fantastic. Exposing to new ideas and ways of working, and I think opportunities time to reflect on practice as well. So it's just generally sort of trying to embed the strapline. Now, what I'm going to propose in the plan coming up is to sort of build, as I said, on the existing platforms, but then look at other sort of channels then to be used as appropriate to the audiences. We're virtually online constantly now, so we're moving away from traditional sort of media, moving towards social media, the teams and other sort of marketing tools. If you go forward again, please, so. Okay, so I'll go through this very quickly before we actually get into the plan. These are some of the brief things I'll be looking at. The internet site, I've reviewed that. I think that does need some work, but I think we can have some relative quick wins. The Teams channel, we've mentioned that today. Social, some great stuff going on, but I think I can start rolling the ball in other areas. Newsletters, I think we've touched upon national exposure and more coverage. I've already created a template for things that we could do. We could possibly look at Sway. Next one, please, Phil. And the other things I've already started to do with the support with the events. I think Claire Weiler's mentioned earlier about coffee mornings, bite sides and themes events to get and engage in the community. A whole host of videography and other things, that the routes that we could go down. I've mentioned or briefly touched upon asset creation. We've got some teams backgrounds already going. I mentioned the templates, email signatures, and videos and indents. Things I've already created, which will be shown at the event in May. We'll get to that. I think there's one more slide, so. Right, okay. So I have to get the plan up onto the screen now. Is it just as simple as me sharing my screen so everybody can see it?
Yeah, that should be best.
Thank you.
My God, I see what you mean, Claire. It's just come back on and the pink has gone wild.
Top work by the team.
No pressure, Mr. Daniel.
Yeah, come on, get with it.
Okay, so can everybody see this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got it.
Thank you. So again, brief situation analysis, what the plan further down will be. Build on existing platforms, consistent extension of identity and branding. Extend the branding through the platforms. Great work. There's absolutely no doubt about that. You know, the bar, you know, it's been mentioned a lot. The bar's been raised. It certainly has. Fantastic. It can obviously be improved. No comms are perfect, but if we can use the platforms to communicate effectively, we can. And not just for events. There's so many other things outside events that we do. Let's start sharing it. Let's talk about it. Build on demonstrating the work. Optimism about the future of the branch. That's very, very clear from what I can see. Great representation of the committee from across the sort of workforce and legal communities. And I think we've already been recognised as innovating in many areas. I read some papers online. I think it was the national sort of get-together. I can't recall when the date was, but looking at the papers from the other branches and then compare them to what this branch is doing, it's like night and day. It's fantastic. And clearly committee members are working to promote the benefits of HPMA. I think Gareth touched upon that. Let's expand. And as Gareth also said, let's become the go-to. Let's make that happen. So the plan then is based around these 4 areas. Provide content that validates the stakeholders to engage. Inspire. Let's build the loyalty and advocacy. And I can see from the approaches from the events, for example, that is happening. The growth in the Twitter, for example, that's quite a big growth in a short space of time. It's really impressive. To educate, for example, the legal events, it's providing almost solutions to things, current challenges, things that are out there that HR workforce professionals may encounter and how they would sort of overcome those things. And I suppose a way to entertain. I mean, Mr. Motivator is certainly going to be doing that in a couple of weeks, you know, and that helps to drive engagement and bring people in and sort of champion the awareness of the work. So going at the plan itself. So this is something, again, is living and breathing. It's something that go through the remainder of this year going into next year. There are some quick wins. I've already mentioned about the team's background. I've created a video indent. So whenever we produce a video, we'll have a background with our logo, with our branding and some music over it. Identifies us. It's professional, it's slick. I've mentioned about the newsletter template as well, should we go down that route. I'm here for all event support, all general communications, your graphics, your videos, your brochures, your team's coordination. Anything you want from me, contact me at any time. I am here for you from this sort of day forward. I have all the professional software in terms of videography and design. So if you want something, please let me know. I mentioned about the updating of the HPMA Wales website. I will get in touch with Chamberlain Dunn, because I had another look at it last night, and clearly it needs to be updated with pictures, the bios, the events. I think we need to sort of synergize the events on there, as well as the social media work, as well as some of the articles and various other bits and pieces. I see that as a quick win, and I think I can get that done by June. And then it's about the ongoing coordination and the updating of the pages as we go through. I want this plan. I need your help with this. I need sort of the information from you. So I need your direction, perhaps at committee or maybe the conversations outside, to ensure that this happens. And I think that goes, throughout all of it. I think we touched upon the Teams channel. What I will do is share everything on there going forward. Any sort of new graphics, things that I may do for comment coming through as well. In terms of social media, it's quite clear that that's doing really, really well. I think we can still build on that. I've had conversations with Sinead outside of this meeting. I think we can utilise Hootsuite to sort of put more tweets out there, to use LinkedIn to broaden things out slightly and schedule and more formalise things. A lot of the stuff that we do, it seems, comes around events leading up to, during and after. But I feel there are other things that we could do to enhance the brand and the great work that you were doing, as well as general updates about what's going out on there in this little legal and the HR world too. I think from the last committee meeting we discussed Gwecha, and then we discussed the HPMA Wales YouTube channel. I can create that quite quickly. I can get that up and running by next month, possibly going into June. And what I propose with that, I have all the branding and the other identity sort of things that we can drop in. And I've spoken to Zoe so we can populate it with videos that we have already. What I would propose, and this is over to Gareth as incoming chair, is that we could possibly film an introduction for you to put on there. On YouTube, when you create a channel, one of the first things you can set things up to see is an introduction. It could be a video, it can be an animation, is what you want it to be. And it'd be great to have the chair saying, welcome to HPMA YouTube channel. This is what we do. This is who I am. It enhances this sort of user experience. Also, I have animation software. And I think one thing we haven't done in the past is have or utilize those sort of animation software, those small indents you see, and I have the set software to do that, and we can use that for the channel. I can get that up and running in May and June. It's quite simple to sort of take forward and understand. Looking at the newsletters, I provided the template to the Teams channel previously. Just some thoughts. I'd really appreciate your feedback on that. What I propose is maybe some sort of quarterly newsletter which could go out to the communities. I'd need obviously your help with that, so I'd get a call to arms for content at meetings. We could possibly now have the software that I use for events, but I was thinking that we could possibly use Microsoft Sway, just have that in with shared services, and it does look like a really good interactive platform to use. As it's sort of quarterly, I'm looking towards later on, a couple of months in the line for that. But once I have the template established, I can run with that. The next item, virtual coffee mornings. Now we have all these events that we have, which are fantastic, but I'm just wondering whether we could have sort of bite-sized and themed events. little updates for stakeholders. What's hot at the moment? What can we sort of drag people in and have a conversation about? I think Claire Wiles touched on this earlier, and I know I've spoken to Claire outside of this meeting about engaging the workforce communities with these short and sharp little bite-sized sessions. So again, something to maybe consider. To inform some of the sort of website work, some of the newsletter work, and things to publicise on our social media channels could be blogs. So little shorts, thoughts, experiences, challenges. We've done quite a lot of these in shared services throughout COVID, just to share experiences of how our staff are adapting. But then we could tailor this to the HPMA world. It could be little sort of legal updates on, you know, changes in sort of policy, case law. It's what we could want it to be. So just some of the thoughts there. Posters and documents, ongoing and available. Just ask me. I'm not just here just for the events. If there are anything that you would like me to do on an ongoing basis to sort of enhance the brand, or anything else around specific areas, please let me know. I can do interactive documents. I can make things jump out. I can embed videos into things. Infographics. This again would be ongoing. If you identify anything that you feel that I could do around, like I've already done the emails and the videos and everything, but if there are things that I could bring to the table that would provide something that we could share, again, nationally and in infographic style, we have achieved, we have done, our events have attracted over. I can make those very visual, and I can also change them into animated style as well, so it isn't just static. The other thing I'd like to look at and update is the membership pack. I think I produced this, I think it was about 2 years ago, and obviously people have come and gone, etc. There might be some changes and various things here and there that need to be updated, so I'd really like to get involved with that with you. And that is key to drawing people in, isn't it? It's almost like it's like a website. It's the gateway to say, join us. These are the reasons why, and I can turn that around relatively quickly. I put August as a date in there, but if I have the content, I can make that work quicker. One thing I was stipulated on, if Gareth brought this up, working to develop a Welsh language present in the general communications and work. I think it's so important as we embrace the Welsh language standards, and I know perhaps we're not obliged technically to do that. I think we'd be missing a trick if we didn't. Welsh language draws people in. It shows that we're sort of willing to sort of develop the language to become part of it. We're in Wales, for example. Gareth mentioned about drawing on the resources of shared services. I can have conversations with our Welsh language unit around translation and ensuring that all the communications that go out are bilingual. I'll make that happen. And I think the final then thing for me is measurement. We're looking at Twitter and the analytics around Twitter, which is fantastic, but there are other platforms we can use to look at the other communications. The Hootsuites of the world, LinkedIn, YouTube. It shows, and Google as well. People forget that Google have a built-in platform that covers websites and all the other bits and pieces, and mainly because Google own them. So Google, they own all the social media brands that people are perhaps not aware about. So we can utilize that and understand then, right, what are we doing well, what's effective, and how can we grow on this to make the sort of brand and what we do even more successful, draw more people in, and all the things that go with that. That's it from me. I've tried to keep it brief. I hope I haven't bored everybody with all the information. I am a stickler for that, and I do apologise. I could go into far more detail, but you know, we've been on the meeting for quite some time, so I hope that provides a sort of an overview of my thoughts. And any questions and things, please let me know.
Excellent, Darren. Thank you. Really great plan. Really great plan. Lots of really good ideas in there that will move us forward. Look, I am conscious of time, and as Danny's I've been having so much fun. I'd forgotten we've been here for 2 hours without break. So So we'll just take stock in a second, but let's just finish this item off first of all. So any comments, questions, or ideas for Darren? Any observations? Lots of love coming down the side of the sidebar. Anybody want to say anything? Floor is yours. Open up.
Please
No,
let me know, guys.
We're all blown away.
If there's anything outside this meeting, right, anything at all at any time, just drop me a shout. I'm more than happy to pick the phone up, the Teams up with anything, because that's what I'm here for. And I love the work that you do, and I want to be a big part of it. So if I can help to enhance that, just do that. Thank you.
Look, so I think we're all really very grateful for that offer of support and your expertise. And I think, if I read down the sidebar, Darren, there's loads of people, saying great ideas. I love the coffee morning idea. I have to say, I think there's real possibility in that, and linking it to the development of the profession stuff with the CIPD map. So you could have a coffee morning talking about, well, what does this actually mean in this area as a CIPD map, and bring people into that. So people are excited by what you're suggesting there, and picking up. I think Ruth picking up the issue of Welsh language and bilingualism. And Ruth, there have been, just to answer your question about the general awareness sessions, there have been a number of emails that have gone out across the system to invite people. So they should be in your organisation, those emails and diary invites. Already.
I've just forwarded it
I'm
into you.
just flicking them across now.
Lovely. There we go. Thank you. There we are. That's the beauty of being on this committee. Okay, so thank you. Jackie's asked a question there about whether it's hidden or public facing as well for the YouTube channel. So one for us to just have a think about, thinking about the content and what we put out there. But it's really great. We haven't had this before, Darren, and it's really great to see it now. And to have that going forward. So thank you for that. And it's a real prompt to all of us to start to think about how we'll contribute into that plan with content and what we're going to say. So, okay, look, right, we're 2 hours in. We've not got far to go. In fact, very little. How do people want to play it? Do we want to take a stop for 10 minutes and then just wrap up, or do we want to plough on through? Answers on, I'd like to say postcard, but in the side. Quick vote. Thumbs up if you want to take a quick short break.
Plough on, I think, is the consensus.
Apart from Howell, who wants to stand up, walk around and get a drink. All right, look, I think we'll only be 10 minutes anyway, to be honest with you. So Howell, if you can survive for 10 minutes without another top-up cup of coffee, but by all means, feel free to stand up and stretch, particularly if you've got most motivator leggings on, and give us all a good laugh.
Yeah, that's the only criticism, Claire, of the gift, is you don't get much caffeine in the HPMA cup.
And to be honest with you, you just blended it into the background there. Right, okay, so we're all on a lovely, you're all a lovely sea of pink. Wendy, apart from you, you're still blue. You need to change background. Just saying, just for one last time for me. Right, okay, so the next item on the agenda was for Nikki, on the understanding that she might be able to join us, and it was a future look just from the national perspective. So Sarah, I'm going to put you on the spot, if you don't mind, and ask if there's anything you can sort of share with us, being a National Council member, deputy president and all that stuff.
Yeah, quite right.
On what's coming up. Yeah, we'll all salute you. So can I give you the floor for 5 to...
Yeah, no, absolutely, Claire, and no problem. I'm very happy to do that. Just aware that there's probably colleagues here who aren't as au fait with the perhaps national arrangements as others. So just spend a few seconds, if I may, just making people aware of how that works. So I think we talk about national as a sort of catch-all situation. So obviously this is a national UK charity, and as such I've got a range of trustees. One of the first things I say in terms of an update is that there's been a lot of work going on amongst the trustees in terms of refreshing, and there's been a skills audit undertaken. So as one of the deputy presidents, I'm one of the trustees as well. And our skills audit was actually a very, very useful thing, because I think traditionally the trustees have been recruited from quite similar backgrounds. So we've done a bit of work in terms of looking at tenure. So some trustees have stepped off. And we've now got 2 new trustees, both of whom have got comms and engagement backgrounds. So that's going to be quite exciting for us going forward and seeing in terms of seeing where that takes us as a charity. So that's the Board of Trustees. We've then got National Council, of course, where the 3 deputy presidents, the president and the executive director, who's the only paid executive of HPMA UK, that's Nikki, sits, along with all of the vice presidents. So each branch across the UK has a vice president. And most recently, the South East branch is being re-established in conjunction with London. So South East actually wasn't represented on HPMA for quite a while. So that work has been ongoing and is now completed. So that branch is being re-established, linking in with the London branch, as I said. So actually the whole of the UK is now covered by HPMA branches, which is a fantastic thing. Very importantly as well, we've actually started to build our relationships with commercial partners as a national organisation, and we've now got a formal relationship with Liaison, who are an organisation that want to support HPMA in terms of communications and in terms of actually putting a lot of expertise into the system, which we as a branch can call on and pull on if we need to actually dovetail a bit of what Darren was just describing. So for example, building a members only area on the national website where actually members can get further benefits. And you know, that in itself will help us increase our offering as HPMA Wales to all of our members. So content is being developed for that, but actually they're asking all branches to contribute to that content. So if we want to actually share with other colleagues across the UK, then that's an opportunity for us as well. And there's an increase in other commercial partners coming forward. So, you know, that's a very potential there, I think, in the coming year to actually build on that with a package that's been pulled together for further commercial partners. Just other things then, central to the work I think that the national team are talking about at the moment is in England. So NHSE in England are doing a national HROD review, and I can honestly say that within HPMA UK, whilst so Dean Royals is the national president, has a seat on the oversight committee of that review, we are very much bringing a 4 countries perspective to it. So the work that's coming from the review is being then looked at in terms of a 4 country arrangement. So recently I met with Nikki and Helen Arthur from Welsh Government and Julie Rogers from HIW in terms of how can we continue to make sure that any learning from that England review flows through to Wales, so that we can actually sort of benefit from that and dovetail with that work, because, you know, we don't want to reinvent the wheel, and actually we've got our workforce strategy in Wales. How can we marry the 2 together and learn potential potential evidence from the review and how we can take the profession forward in Wales. We can learn from best practice and actually move forward together. I can honestly say that more and more times in trustee meetings, in sort of the senior team meetings, we are asking for that 4 country perspective. So I think Claire was right with what she said earlier, that we have more of a voice and we actually do punch above our weight considering the size of our branch. We've 1 branch, England have, you know, numerous branches, for example, that we definitely do punch above our weight there, and our voice and our view is extremely valued within the national focus. Just a few words then about the events. Obviously the awards have been relaunched this year and are going to be virtual again, so the closing date for the award submissions is the 25th of May, with the actual virtual event happening on the 7th of October, so quite similar timelines to last year. A lot of feedback has been taken about the way those awards, the virtual awards, was delivered. So that feedback is being taken on board. And we have made the decision again this year to hold the conference virtually, because there was some talk about potentially trying to get it an in-person conference. I think some of us felt quite strongly that probably wouldn't be appropriate for colleagues to be probably going to Belfast, which was the original location. So I think that will definitely be virtual. So that's being worked up at the moment. We'll have a lot more details of that out soon. So that's probably what I would say, Claire, if that's helpful. Obviously happy to take any comments.
Thank you, sir. And yeah, I think that's really helpful update. Thank you. And stuff that, you know, some great developments really, isn't it? It's really good to see. I think, you know, as I say, from where we were 2 years ago, I know when I started getting involved, to where we are now, and how Nikki and Dean are taking things forward.
Yeah.
Nationally, and influencing in that people, profession, work and space, and help, and enabling us to influence and plug in and connect and you know, have a voice in all of that is really good. As I said at the start, it's one of the things that I was keen when I first started, and we've developed some ambitions to see a strong voice there for us. And one of the things I think we've seen and started to see, so fab on that front. So thank you for that update, really helpful. Anybody got any other comments or questions or observations for Sarah? No? Everybody's all desperate now to go and either sit in the sunshine and have a cup of coffee or a walk around. And I do apologise for not giving us a break in the middle of this. That is very, very remiss of me, and I shall go away and berate myself as I sit in the garden in the sun for 10 minutes. So, okay, so I think we are, Zoe, now at the end of our presentation slides, aren't we?
Yep.
Yeah, so at the end of our agenda. So thank you all very much for your time and attention and your contributions today and across the whole of the year. Gareth, I'll bring you in if before I wrap up, if that's what if you want me to. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, I just thought it'd be remiss of me not to say a massive thanks to you personally, apart from twisting my arm. You know, clearly the leadership and the work that you've put into the network over the last 2 years has been really, really strong, and we wouldn't be where we are now without the leadership that you've given. So, you know, you've started to set the bar high. Poor old Howell and myself are really going to struggle, I think, to keep it that high. But you know, we will do our best to maintain it. But you know, I think it would be fair to say you are leaving the branch in a far healthier place than you find it. And if I can say the same thing in 2 years' time when I hand over the reins to Howell, I'll certainly be glad, because you know, you've shown some real clear leadership and some commitment to getting the HPMA back on the agenda, and you know, I think it would be wrong of us not to recognise that formally and thank you for all your efforts on behalf of the wider network. And there's so much pink now appearing on the screen in front of me. It's quite noticeable, so it's grabbing my attention now.
Thank you, Gar, and thank you for those kind words. I would say that when I took over from Sarah, the branch was going from strength to strength then. You know, she'd started building that really, so, and I was just able to build on it. And as I said at the start, you have been a fabulous team to work with, and you've made this job very easy in many respects for me. So if I've been able to bring something to you all and to the committee and to the agenda, then that's fab, and you know, I'm pleased with that, and I'm not going away. I'm not, you know, disappearing, and I will continue to come to committee meetings and continue to promote our events and continue to push us on Twitter, and I've had fun. And you know what, through the last 12 months, that has been so important, is to have some of these connections and networks and relationships where you can come and you can have some fun and you can laugh together, and you know, you've certainly been that for me. And so I thank you all for that very much. So I am going to, before we close, I'm going to ask you all to put your cameras on, so we can do a quick photo. There's lots of pink there. I'm not wearing scrubs again, Howell. I know you've just messaged me to ask me that. I've just got my wrap. I'm cold. Right, okay. Let me get you all on the screen. And so this is my last, I'm going to put you all up as my last chaired HPMA meeting in AGM, and give us a wave, everybody, please. Somebody's just dropped out. Jackie's disappeared from the bloody picture. Jackie, where have you gone? Oh. Right, give us a smile and a wave. Thank you. Good stuff. Lovely, thank you. All right, look, I'm going to formally close our AGM. Is there any other business before I do so? Anything anybody else would like to say or throw into the mix? No? Marv. Okay, fab. So lots came out to that. I've really enjoyed that 2 hours with you all. Thank you for sticking with it, or 2 hours and 20. Really good AGM, fabulous stuff we've been doing over the last year or two, fabulous events, and you know, lots of really good stuff to come under Gareth's leadership and steer now, and with the comms plans and the events coming up. So you know, we'll go from strength to strength, I'm really sure. So, and thank you very much again for my flowers, which are beautiful, and I will go away now and look at them a bit more and tweet about them, obviously.
So when is the next meeting?
The next meeting, so?
The 28th of May or the 21st, one of them.
Lovely.
I know I have to change some of the dates because of WOD, so I'll do that soon.
Great.
Some of them clash.
Okay, look, go enjoy some sunshine this weekend, because it's going to be lovely out there, isn't it, and warm. So get some sunshine, relax, and I look forward to I'll see most of you anyway on a virtual screen somewhere near here in the next couple of weeks, and on Twitter and on the WhatsApp group. And if not, I will see you at our next committee meeting, which Gareth will be ably chairing, and I can sit there then and be disruptive like Sarah Morley does.
What's she saying, Sarah?
Does that mean I can't be that anymore?
No, that's my job now. All right, take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.